to the Looney Bin, the Great Pop Culture Debates fashion photo review of Drag Race Canada. I am joined again by my extra special panelists, Brett Chin, Curtis Creekmore, and Kai Nessick Chin, and we are about to toot, shoot, and poot the looks from episode 4 of Canada's Drag Race. Insert song where we all dance. Okay, so we're too poor for a budget for licensed songs. Sorry, everybody. So this week's challenge was another design challenge with a twist. It was a team design challenge in which the queens were split into teams of 3 and were assigned a rubbish bin. One team had to make their looks out of plastic, one team had to make their looks out of paper, and one out of metal. So we are going to start with Team Plastic, and first up to the stage was Scarlett Bobo, and I'm going to throw it to Brett.
So I'm torn with this look because you can definitely tell what the materials are, but her makeup was on point. She's wearing nice shoes, and it's fitting, and I didn't mind the flow of it as well when she walked on stage, so I'm gonna toot it.
All right, Curtis.
I love this. I don't understand how anybody couldn't. And I have been a pretty harsh critic of Scarlett up until this point, but like especially that makeup and that hair on her, that's a model. Like that's so fucking beautiful. And everything, I love the shoulders. I love the headpiece. It is simple. I will give you that. And she is on brand with that B, and I don't necessarily love that part of it, but the rest of it is just stunning. I love it. So I give it a 2.
Kai.
Yeah, I think I could be nitpicky. I don't like the B either. And the shoulders, and maybe it's just this picture too, but the shoulders and the headpiece really gave me like a fiery look and a fiery feel, which I love. I actually would have loved to see some of that on her shoe. Some of that material maybe on the front end, kind of mimicking the flow. And I wish it was maybe a little bit longer and maybe not so cut up on the sides, but I do love it. Her face is beat. And as far as the challenge, which is a cohesive look, a cohesive collection, I think it fits well with the other 2 looks. So I give it a 2.
Okay, kids, I am going to rock your world by saying flat out, I actually was astonished that Team Plastic was the winning team for this challenge. I don't see it. I will get to this look in particular right now, but I want you all to do me a favor. Cover the head with your thumb and look at just the outfit. Ignore the incredible makeup and hair, which is great. She's giving, the face is amazing in this. Just look at the outfit, which is really fucking simple. And in my opinion, the plastic team did the least amount of work and transformed the materials the least. They 100% had the most cohesive look, no question. If that was the defining characteristic that we're judging on this episode, I see them giving you that. But in terms of the actual design and transforming materials into fashion, this is a lot of tarps that get splatter painted and then tied around a body and then putting some nets on the top for volume and effect. I'm not wowed. I'm not blown away. I'm going to toot this, but it's a real soft toot. With that, we're going to move on to our next girl, and that's going to be Kiara. I'm going to send it back to Brett.
Good thing Kiara is on this team because otherwise I don't think she would go very far. But I actually don't mind this dress. I don't like the netting on the very bottom of the end. I think they could have had that tarp without the bottom of it. But I do like the fit of it. I like the design of it. She probably could have taken off the back part of it that's on around her thing. But I'm going to toot it. I don't mind it.
Curtis Creekmore.
This was the weakest of the 3 looks for me, I think, on this team. I overall appreciate it. I guess she doesn't pad ever, period. And that's not my style of drag, and I'm getting over it. So bear with me, audience. I cannot decide what Jolene wants to do. It has to be what everybody else does. I still toot it because I think overall it's a good look. It's a structured garment. It looks interesting. It ties together with her other two teammates. I just wish that, it and she had more shape instead of just straight up and down pole bodies.
Kai.
Yeah, I don't like the belt. I agree. Where's the padding? She never does padding. I think she would look amazing if she started padding. I think you could get such a great hourglass. Like, Jada is her own queen, but I feel like if you had padding in a body like Jada's, you can do amazing things. I don't like the belt. I do like the dirtiness of the faces and the hands, and I actually like how each of their makeup is so vastly different in this collection as well. I don't love the headpiece. I am going to toot this look because for me, it's really about the challenge. And I feel like this dress is not only different, but also fits their brief. So I nitpick with things. Again, the shoes could have more on them, but I'll give it a toot.
Boot. Boot, 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 ba-doo. Boot, 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 ba-doo. It's almost a poot for me. This one in particular is why I was like, this is the top fucking team. What drugs are you taking in Canada? Again, let's ignore the makeup, which is great. It's super cool. I'm 100% here for this. And I even like Kiara. I really do. This is the laziest, the laziest thing that was on that runway. The paper team did more work than they do. I think it is. I really do think it is. I see a tarp that is just arms cut out, wrapped, belted, calling it a day. That's what I see.
I need to put in some earrings so that I can take them out to fight you.
You can go ahead and do it. But is it makeup on the arms? Is that what's on the arms?
I think so. Some sort of dirt or makeup, and I think it's to match the orange.
Sure.
Scarlett also had darker makeup or whatever on her arms, so I think that's across the team as well.
Which to me is not really part of a design challenge. This is a makeup challenge. That's fine. This is as simple as it gets. And the headpiece, we've seen this before many times. We've seen it done better every time. This to me was messy mess, and I have no time for it at all. Flat out boot. Next, we're going to move on, and it is the winner of this week's episode, Rita Baga, Brett Chen.
So I agree with you, Eric, that I don't think that Rita should have won. But I do like the team's cohesiveness, and so I do, as a team, believe that they should have won as a team. But I don't think Rita should have won for this look in particular. I actually don't mind the look. I love the top of it, and I love her makeup. I think that's like probably the something that really takes it for me. But the outfit's okay for me. I don't mind it, so I'm gonna toot it.
Curtis.
I love the top. I love I love that she put the netting on her face. That's like the thing. That is what makes it high fashion and goes into that club kid aspect that she was talking about during the episode. What I don't love is, even though I think she cinched that looks like a corset, there's no defined middle. It's just big up top and then straight down. And I don't know that I would have given her the win either. But then again, like, who do you give it to? Because no one, I think, really knocked it out of the park with this challenge across any of the three teams. And I would be really interested to hear what you have to say about that, Eric. I'm going to toot this because overall, I think conceptually and visually, it is an appealing, interesting, cool look that meets the challenge. I just wish that she were a little bit more cinched, or maybe even just padded the bottom a little bit more.
Hi.
Yeah, the pads, again, I feel like that could have made this look so much better because the bottom half just looks boxy. This is probably my least favorite outfit of this collection. Boobs up, it sold it for me. And the club kid aspect of it, I mean, having that on her face and it working, not looking like she has something wrapped, really well done. But the rest of it to me just looks like a spray painted tarp, you know. So I will toot it because I just loved it. I mean, I just loved it. I do get what you're saying more about the makeup, but I really feel like this team knocked the challenge out. I don't think she should have won either, but I'm going to toot it.
I will agree with what everyone is saying. The makeup is stunning. The makeup on all three of them was stunning. It looked great. That's not the challenge. It's the design challenge. And this is one of those things that used to drive me crazy on Project Runway, where they would knock designers for their poor styling. So that means accessories, shoe choices, hair choice, makeup choice, and not talk about the actual outfit, which is what they're supposed to be fucking there for. And this is the challenge was a design challenge. As you have all said, from the neck up, this is really interesting. Again, it's not particularly inventive. We have seen this before. The material is doing 9/10 of the work here, but from the waist down, it does seem a little bit like an afterthought. I will give Rita some credit for incorporating the netting as a lining into the kind of coat dress. To me, it is the best of the three. It's Rita up here, then Scarlett, then a colossal fall to Kiara. But I'll go ahead and toot this more out of a begrudging respect for the cohesiveness of the collection and less because I think it's a great look in and of itself. Next up, we had the metal team, and we're going to start with Boa. Cannot wait to discuss this. We're going to go to Brett Chin first.
It's a Noah again this week for sure. I mean, this is Canada's first, drag race, so that's why I think there's a lot of diapers. Because again,
because they're babies.
They're babies, and there's so many diapers on this season for some reason. I think it's fun that she did use the little metal things for her top, but the diaper, and I wish if she had maybe made more of a garment with sleeves and other things, that could have been a lot better. Because her makeup and her hair looks on point. It looks amazing, but this outfit, it is terrible. So obviously it's actually gonna be a poot.
Oh, all right. Curtis, the fangs are coming out.
Oh my goodness. Am I
love
the
it.
nice one this episode? What? No, I still don't like this outfit. I do love the breastplate or whatever you want to call that. That was super cool. It could have been done on any outfit and it would have made it it would have elevated it. But yeah, that's a diaper baked potato. That is unacceptable to me. It could have been this, I think, is the closest to being amazing if she had gone in just a slightly different direction. If she had done the full gown with sleeves and covered the front like they had mentioned to her, if bring that around and just make the bottom like a ball gown and then just finish out the top. Because to me, you said her makeup looks beautiful, which it does, but it doesn't match her skin tone. Her face is a different color from her chest and her arms, which are a different color from your tights. And that's a drag queen's life. I get it. I know it. But if you know that those three things are going to be different, you have to design a garment that works. And this doesn't. So it's a boot.
Kai.
Yeah, I think that this is definitely a boot. There's no cohesiveness, and this looks more like those blankets they give you when, you're freezing cold and it keeps the most warmth in. It doesn't read
trauma blanket.
Yeah, it doesn't read like metal. The breastplate is awesome and awesome use of those, whatever they are. But yeah, it's that absolute boot for me.
First of all, I want to say trauma blanket for Canada's Drag Race Season 2. I will not toot this. I will boot this. However, I do want to say on the record, the metal team had the hardest materials to work with. They each picked different materials so that it wasn't samey. And yet I still did think there was an element of cohesiveness to that collection that you can say, Eric, you're crazy. I'm fine. I'll take that. But they at least pushed themselves. You can say this is boring, this has no actual value, this is a bad diaper with mullet skirt, and I'm not going to disagree with any of the things that you just said, but again, hard materials to work with. The bikini top with the strainer titties was a charming little gimmick, but as the judges pointed out, we're tired of the gimmicks, give us actual glamour. I do want to have a moment and say, I don't remember which judge it was who was like, oh my God, I really would have loved it if you came out with a little crop top bolero jacket to go with this. And I'm like, okay, cunt, you make a fucking bolero jacket with tuna cans and a fucking I don't know, chicken wire in 4 hours. Let's do it. Come on, Stacey.
It was Brooke. And
whatever.
with chicken wire would have actually been really cool.
But did they even have that? I was just like, fuck you. Like, what a bullshit thing to say. That's not even a critique. So I'm going to boot Boa, but I think they had the hardest task and should have been given a little leeway because they didn't just take 3 fucking tarps, splatter paint them, and wrap them around themselves and say, look, I won.
I think we
Moving
can all
on.
agree, and we were talking about it before we started, that the judging, specifically this week, but in general, has been really honestly mean. Like, very few constructive comments and just a lot of criticism and a lot of mean-spirited statements, especially from Mr. Boyer Chapman.
And I will say, I do feel like if you go back and watch the early seasons of the US version, it was also kind of the same. There were a lot more cutting back in like seasons 1, 2, and 3 before the judges got absolutely ripped to shreds by people on social media for being just mean for the sake of being mean, Simon Cowelling it,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I mean, if you want to go that way, like, listen, I'm gonna get ripped to shreds for this potentially, and I'm fine with it. But I can take it, and I'm not sure that poor, sweet, beautiful Jeffrey can. So moving on to our next gal, we have Priyanka Brett Chin.
So this is probably one of my favorite looks. I don't like her makeup though. I thought her makeup could have been better, and her wig looks like a dried out wig. But I do like the shape, the way it moved on the thing, and she sold it on the runway. Like she came out and she sold it. And so, yeah, I definitely love this look. Again, I wish that she did more. I know Curtis might have something to say about her boobs, but I also wish that she did more. I wish more of them did more padding, like Curtis is saying too. Like, I don't mind no padding, but no one really pads again. On a lot of this looks this week didn't pad either. So, but I'm gonna toot it.
All right, Curtis.
I actually don't mind this one with the padding because she cinched it at her waist pretty tight, and then at least the garment went out. Like whether there's pads there or not, at least the garment had structure and it came out. Overall, I think this is a pretty good look. I think the idea of the fascinator is better than the execution. It looks like she's just been stabbed in the back of the head in this picture with an umbrella. And like Brett said, the wig, she was going for high fashion model, but it, along with the makeup, kind of took me out of that. Still gonna toot it overall. I think it's a good look. It was just a couple steps away from something great.
Kai.
Yeah, well, I would say kind of the same thing Eric said about the plastic group. If you cover her face with your thumb, it's gorgeous. Her body is amazing. And I feel like I can't tell if she's padded or not, but the shape is there. She's giving me the shape. The dress, I don't know exactly what it was made out of, but it's very well constructed. It stays, it looks well made, maybe a little bit tinfoil in spots, but it looks well made. I think the wigs, my guess is the wigs were one of their cohesive things because they're all wearing black wigs, and her and Lemon, you'll see next, are wearing basically the exact same wig. And I just feel like, God, I've seen her do amazing makeup for the last couple of weeks. And then to see this, it was like silver or something. I just wanted more from her, but it looks amazing on her, really well constructed. It's an absolute two for sure.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and toot this. I do think that the garment itself is actually really cool. It does look to me like something that an actual woman would wear if she was going out to a club. Again, the fact that it's made out of metal, it's a hard material to work with, and I do not think they were given credit for having the biggest challenge. The Fascinator, exactly as Curtis said, it's a really cool idea, but in execution, it's not quite there. And I think it might have worked better if she had just been holding it and having it kind of like the April Carry On, April Showers look from season 6. That's the second time I've mentioned her on this review thing. People are going to think I'm obsessed. I am. But I think it's a solid look, and I think Priyanka redeemed herself from the first design challenge week, which was real bad. So moving on, we have Lemon, the final member of the metal group. I'm going to give it to Brett.
So I love this dress because you can't tell what the material is. So that's why I do like it. I wish that she was padded. I wish there was more shape to it, or at least on her body. But I do like the fact that you can't tell what material it is because it does look like something, like a material that somebody would actually wear out. So I'm going to toot this look.
Curtis.
People are gonna think I'm nuts but I'm going to boot it. I don't like it. I don't like that there isn't a shape. I don't like that. This to me, Eric, you said earlier that you thought Kiara was the laziest one. This is the laziest one to me.
Really?
Yes, she put a ton of work into ripping those Brillo pads or whatever, the scrubbers apart to make this. And that, like, I'm not taking that away from her, but then you just put it into, like, you just draped them. And then you tied it in specific places. There's no breast, there's no hip, there's no nothing. It's just copper color straight up and down. And then the hair, again, it's in the right direction, but like maybe wrap it a different way instead of just going straight up and down. Like do a halter top instead of this weird, I don't know exactly what she did, but once it hits the waist, it looks messy to me. So boot.
Kai.
One thing they show later too is they pull up her skirt, and she actually made panties too. That actually looked really well done. I agree about the padding. I agree about the breasts. And I think this is another example that if you cover her face with your thumb, it looks great. But when I look at that hair, I think she just thought, well, I have to use it because the rest of the wigs I need for every challenge or something, or it has to look like hers. I just thought, wow, you've looked so good. And then you do this. So for me, it would be like Priyanka, Lemon, and Boa somewhere down at the bottom for these three looks. And I think that for me too was why it was like, I could see the cohesiveness between Priyanka and Lemon simply for that it was two different types of metal and they're using metal. But if you're going to take Brillo pads apart and make a dress, I have to absolutely take that into account. And I think she did well. She could have done better, but she did well. I'm going to give it a 2.
So I don't mind the hair. To me, she was giving me 70s era Cher. That's exactly how I was reading this. Even the gown feels like something, the concept of it seems very Bob Mackie to me. I do think she's absolutely hobbled here by the lack of padding. If she had a chest, but I question if she could use undergarments with this material because you would see it all. Like a bra would be clearly visible, a cincher would have been clearly visible. She did make the panties out of the copper material, which is awesome, but I don't know if she would have been able to do the same for the rest of it. I think it was a really cool idea. I do think it took effort. When I compare this to what Bag of Chips gave us on UK using the exact same materials, and she looked like she was in like fucking shredded wheat stapled all over her body, and this looks like an actual evening gown for me. I think that Lemon did a much better job. There's execution issues, there's no question. They all think really failed themselves on padding this time, but I still think overall it's a really lovely idea. And if you just saw it coming down a runway from afar, you could mistake it for an actual like fashion garment. All right, next we're gonna go to our paper team, and it's Ilona Verley in this. Brett?
You said it in this. Um, yeah, no, it's very costuming. It looks cheap to me. Like the judges said, it does look like a piñata. If the team did something more like a night, Kai mentioned this when we were watching this, like a knight, a jester, and the princess, like something different, I think it might have brought the team, more a different cohesion than it did, because they just literally changed pink to blue, and I am booting this.
All right, Curtis.
I think the construction of it is actually really good. You can look at some of the things that she did, like the pleats and the breastplate, the pleats and the shoulder pad. I like the roundness of the skirt at the bottom. That there are like some really good elements of this, but it looks like you bought it at the dollar store, like not even Party City. You went to the dollar store. Like it's just.
You went to Ciudad Fiesta. That's where you found it.
Yes. My friend had this at his quinceañera. No, like it's a boot. She tried something, but I think they just got scared of Jimbo and they didn't want to tell her no.
Kai.
Yeah, I think she's young. I really think she's young, and I don't mean that to reflect what happened on the show necessarily, but when I see them coming up with this idea, and then, I mean, the execution I actually think is creative and not like out of the realm of possibilities when you're using this kind of material. Like you're going to see fringy, stuff like that. But I do feel like they had one of the easier materials to use, and I just thought, God, you could do so much with paper, and they didn't really put a lot of paper on. Yeah, so she didn't wear pasties this week, so it's like I have to give her that. I think I'm gonna have to boot this look specifically. When I'm looking at the challenge as a whole and the cohesiveness of the group, I'm gonna have to give this a boot.
I'm torn here because I actually think this may be the prettiest Ilona has looked. I think, and you may think that's a read, but genuinely, like, just ignore everything from below the waist. I think she looks really pretty. But it is such a bizarre concept. It's a costume, and it's a cheap looking costume. There's no question that a tremendous amount of work into this. I mean, you can see the work in this, and I respect it, I do. But they went down a path where they were totally missing the part of the assignment where it's a fashion look as opposed to weird Renaissance fair pinata. And it's so because of that, it is a cohesive team, but because I, I just can't toot it because to me, it doesn't make any sense. It's just weird. And again, as Kai mentioned, one of the easier materials to work with. You should have been able to kill this. We've seen great paper works over the years on various shows, and this ain't one of them. So for that reason, it's a boot. Next, we have Tainomi Banks. Brett.
It's not. Nope. It's the same thing. It's It looks even worse. I mean, for the first thing when I saw it too, I thought of Sweden because of her thing. It's like the Swedish flag, and so it just looks worse to me, and it looks terrible. So it's definitely a boot for me as well.
Curtis.
Her hair looks great. I
Mhm.
love that. That looks amazing. Like from the neck up, she looks beautiful. But it is literally the same thing in a different color. And that would not be acceptable on any fashion runway. You do
No.
not walk the same dress in two different colors. If they wanted that, they would go to Sears. So boot.
Kai.
I'm glad what you said this last time, Eric. I do feel like it isn't fashion, and if we're talking about a collection, this doesn't feel like that. And the way you put it, that it's more costumey rather than fashion, I think is bringing it home for me. I couldn't put it into words. And yeah, all I need to say is this is the same dress in a different color. I actually feel really bad for her this week because I feel like Jimbo took over the aesthetic, and then Ilona just went, well, let's just do whatever because she's young and she's nervous or whatever. And then Naomi got stuck, and so I think it's a boot. And it looks even cheaper than Ilona's.
Yeah, I mean, everything that everybody just said. To me, it almost looks like a Pocahontas costume, and I'm going to call it Pocahontas because it's just not good. It's a boot, and I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for Tainomi or for Ilona because, as the judges correctly in this case pointed out, this is a competition, and if you're in a team with 3 other people, your default can't be, okay, I'll be the backup dancer. It's a one-way ticket to the bottom 2, kids. So I still think it was shenanigans. I personally think that I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go to the last girl, and that would be Jimbo, and I'm curious to hear Brett's thoughts.
So for Jimbo, I think this is a cool look. It is, again, costumey. I wish that she didn't put those yellow pom-poms like in between. I just wish it was the like different pink and magentas together. I do like that. I actually don't mind the middle part because it gives her shape too. She could have done without the cones and just made it gold, but I don't mind it. Again, like they said, the judges said, when she didn't paint anything else except her face and she forgot her arms, it definitely took me out of it a little bit. And her wig and just all white just didn't work for me. The crown also looked, when you saw it up close, looked really cheap. It was like I don't know what kind of paper it was, but it looked cheap. So, but overall the look, and she did a lot of details with her shoes. I'm gonna toot it.
Curtis.
if you're going to do a Marie Antoinette look, you have to look like Marie Antoinette, and you don't. You just look like a ghost. I love Jimbo. I've been impressed with every single thing that has come down that runway so far, but this is a boot for me. It's on the right path, but the cones take the shape away. So now it's still like you have no shape at the waist. There's no anything there. It's the same size as your shoulders, and then you go out from there, and it doesn't work. I understand that you don't have time to paint your arms. That's understandable. Like, you spent a ton of time on the costume, then you do your face, then you do your hair. Like, I get it, but you have to take that into consideration. Am I going to be able to paint everything white? Then maybe I shouldn't paint anything white. Like, you just have to make concessions some way. And she didn't. And then she ended up with this. And it's just not a super well executed look. And it definitely does not go with her teammates.
Kai.
I think this is a theme this week. If you just cover her face with your thumb, she looks really good. I can't make that. I could never make that. I actually do like the corset. It doesn't pull me out of the look, I'll say that. The arms, I didn't mind not being the same color, but I didn't like the face. The crown, I think, is fine. It goes with what their theme was. And they also talked to her about the detail that she does, and I think that is important as well. I think the dress is well made. It looks nice. I mean, I don't know if I would wear it, but the one other thing I'll say is, I don't feel like she sold this dress. It looks good. I don't think it would have taken much effort to do that. I just didn't feel like she really sold it. I'm gonna say toot, because I cannot do that.
I would like to know when Curtis Creekmore gave up Reason for Madness, because this is unquestionably the best look of the week to me. Like, there's not even one that's close to it. It is, the amount of effort in this is fantastic and obvious. Was it Brett or Kai who just said, I couldn't make this? Of course you couldn't make this. None of us can make this. I think I will take ambition any day over pedestrian and safe. And Jimbo has consistently shown us ambition on this show. I love actually the yellow in there. I think if it was all pinks and reds, it would have been a little too precious. I think it gives you some variety. It spices things up. It breaks up those big color blocks. I love the middle part. I actually think it's really cool. It's a little bit dangerous. It gives us some edge. Again, it could have been very precious, and that helped keep it from it. I don't think she was trying to be Marie Antoinette. I think she was inspired by that type of a character, a upper class, condescending, I'm better than you, bitch, let them eat cake, but not specifically Marie Antoinette. And I got it. Like, I can see where people are like, oh, the white and the white and the white. I was kind of getting Ghost maybe, and I didn't really get that, but you're reading into that something that she wasn't necessarily putting out there. Regarding the arms, I have a suspicion, this is just a suspicion, Jimbo was just like, I will have time to do all of this. And then by the time she finished all the work, she's like, fuck. And then what are you going to do? Like, at that point, do you wipe the white off of your face, or do you just go with it? It is, to me, the definition of nitpicky that we're sitting there critiquing Jimbo for not having time to paint her arms white when the team that won was out there with, in my opinion, very sloppy, simple construction and very simple forms. The riggery of it all, the riggery.
I have to disagree with you, and I'm going to jump in and cut you off, because
do it.
Jimbo is obviously one of the front runners of this competition. So either they're going to push her forward or they're going to tear her down. The fact that they didn't say more to her about, like, oh, you look so good or whatever, but your teammates sucked or whatever. Like, they had that moment. They could have done it. We've seen it done before. This just isn't, like, yes, it's a difficult look together. I couldn't make any of these fucking things. Like, I couldn't. I definitely couldn't.
You could.
I
do.
Okay. Sure. We'll see. But like, I definitely couldn't make this. Again, I love a ball gown. This is my silhouette. This is the one. Like, if I could wear something, it would be in this shape. But I think just overall, it doesn't mesh. I don't like all of it. Is it the best look out there? I really don't think so. And she did say, Marie Antoinette, she said those words on the main stage, that's the direction that she was going in. And if you're going in that direction, but then you stop halfway, you get Ghost.
But she didn't say she was trying to be Marie Antoinette. She said I was going in the direction of.
Right. But I think she stopped too short, I guess.
And Jeffrey did come for her.
Jeffrey
About
came
this
for
look.
her.
He really did. So she got red on the runway for the little details that we're talking about nitpicking. They were really coming at her for those.
So we're doing this commentary between episode 4 and 5, and my suspicion is they're aggressively trying to break her down right now. And I personally don't think she's going to make it through. I think they're trying to. They told her how awesome she was and how special she was, and now we're in the Tyra Banks portion of the competition where they just unhinge their jaws and devour them on a weekly basis. I think that's what's happening to Jimbo, and I don't think that Jimbo is the type of personality who's going to be able to weather that storm and build herself up from scratch to be what the judges want. And I don't think Jimbo fucking cares. Which, good for you, Jimbo. You shouldn't care. I do want to go to the point about it not being cohesive with the other looks on her team. It's not. She went in a different direction. But if you're on a team with someone in a competition and you can't use diplomacy to get all of you on the same page, and one of you is fucking smoking the other two, step your pussies up instead of falling into the background. Like, I'll use a Ruism. I don't want to hear any more goddamn excuses. Like, sorry about it. She was putting this together, and y'all are over there putting together, like, cheap-looking paper hoop skirts. Give me a break. So, anyway, that's it for our girls. I'm going to go around for the top toots of the week. Brett, we're going to start with you.
Jesus.
I'm going to go with Priyanka.
All right, Curtis.
Oh my God. This is really difficult because again, it's like, I definitely gave toots this week, but they weren't super strong toots. Rita, I guess. Ringing endorsement.
Going off of not the challenge, just what I like the most, I'm going with Jimbo.
I'm also going with Jimbo, and there's not even competition in it. So that does it for this episode of the Looney Bin. Thank you. I'm sorry I was a little bit salty, y'all, but it was a rough day. Thank you for watching. We hope you're enjoying our little show as well as Drag Race Canada. Make sure that you check out greatpopculturedebate.com for more video content, as well as polls that need your votes, and all of the episodes of our little podcast. So thank you, everybody, and have a good night.